Welcome to Therapy Sessions Cutting Toxic Family Ties. My name is Dr. Sherry Campbell, and I'm your host. I am a leading expert in the niche of toxic family abuse, and although my show cannot substitute for therapy, it is a survivor-based show. In me, you're not only going to get an expert, but you're also going to get a survivor, as I have also survived toxic family abuse. I know how hard it is. The goal I have is to give voice to the voiceless, to provide skills to help you to protect your peace, to stand your solid ground, and to navigate and heal the heartbreaks caused by toxic family. Please have a pen and paper available to give voice to your thoughts as you listen to each show. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for your bravery. So let the healing begin. Welcome everyone to Therapy Sessions, and I am with someone that I just adore. She introduced herself to me. I actually shared my episode of me on her show. And this is Jenny. I'm going to let her introduce herself, tell us what she's all about. But this episode is going to be incredible. We are going to talk largely about parallel parenting, but most importantly, parenting your kids in a traumatic or dramatic toxic situation. And that could be from your ex. It could be from your ex. It could also be from your parents, his parents, your parents, whatever. But we're going to talk about parenting and how we help our kids and where repair should come from. And when our kids don't get that repair, how can we, as that parent, repair? We're going to dive into so many amazing things. But first, Jenny, thank you for coming on Therapy Sessions. Tell us all about you.
Thank you so much for having me on. I've been really looking forward to this conversation. I always learn so much from you every time or each time we've spoken. I've always taken nuggets away. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing. So yes, my name is Jenny. I am a divorce coach. And I also specialize in high conflict divorces. Also meaning divorcing somebody who is personality disordered, as well as helping people build parenting plans around that. And I'm also the author of a children's book called How We Blend, and the creator and host of my own podcast, which you have been on, called Why Are We Whispering?
I love the title of your show, Why Are We Whispering? Because why are we whispering? I think
Indeed.
Because we were taught to suffer in silence, and now we can heal out loud. Let's dive into the topic of toxic parenting. I have a very toxic, actually no effort ex, and he had a phenomenal way of almost presenting himself as Cinderfella to people. And he was very seductive, like my mother, and getting people to feel very sorry for him. So when I left the relationship, he was very able to lie about the reasons that I left. He was very much able to smear it and put it on me. There were many things he did to try and triangulate my daughter. And it was really hard because I'm being talked poorly about in front of her. And I'm having to fix those things. She wasn't safe. She was very neglected when she was with him. So when we're dealing with an ex like this, there's I found, and you jump in, Jenny, I found like there was communication didn't work. There was no communication with him because he can't take any feedback. What do you suggest to people in that situation? What things do you coach them to do?
So when you're dealing with a high conflict individual or personality disordered person, so oftentimes they're looking for you to play a game of tennis with them, right? Because the pig always wants you to get in the mud with them. And so the only game they want to play are 2-player games. I always remind my clients, you have to play golf. You have to play a game of solitaire. You have to do a singular, you have to be functioning on your own, protecting your own peace. You cannot ever take the bait by getting into a back and forth with that person, because it will be riddled with traps. Yep. And once you're in, it's very difficult to get out. And so they will try and drag you in using things that they know about you, weaponizing information that they have on you. So if they know that the thing that you care about, obviously the most will be your children, they'll always lead with, if they're messaging you via text, that it will be about the child, when it won't be about the child, because it will be pages and pages and pages of paragraphs and paragraphs of how awful you are, what a terrible parent you are, or you messed up on this and you messed up on that, and this is the why, X, Y, and Z. And also Susie needs her PE shoes, her gym shoes for tomorrow. And you need to drop them off at the school. So it will be something that is, something simple that you would hope that parents could actually communicate on, i.e. a child needing a school item, and the other parent has it to drop it off at school. But you can't get that information with just one sentence. It will be with a barrage of abuse around it. So my suggestion in cases like that is to either just give it a thumbs up. So as in message received, I know Susie needs her shoes, and that's the only thing you're addressing with the thumbs up. Or in some cases, just don't respond, or one-word answers. So sometimes it's yes, no, agree, disagree, things like that. So just keep the context and the feelings out of each engagement. And most of the time, a response is not warranted anyways.
Yeah, they're just giving you a monologue.
Yeah.
I used to wonder, like, why does he just monologue? And then they have the audacity to say, it's too bad we can't have a civil conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. They think they're so civil. So one thing I would like to share is what I did when I was in it, because he was so provoking. You described it so perfectly. I would block him during those activated moments, because I wasn't always strong enough the bait was so masterful and it was so incredible. And he'd throw things around. Now you can't be civil. So I would block because I just knew it was going to rant. And if I had someone with me, I would often just let them grab my phone and I would say, is there anything in here that I need? Like, does Susie need her shoes? Right. But that was a wonderful way for me to get distance, because I could go back in the morning and I just would not have to deal with all of the abuse. You have every right to shut that abuse off. One thing that I teach people in my office is, if you want to have a civil conversation or you want to persuade someone to understand you, for that to happen, it's never going to be about the strength of your argument. For persuasion to happen or civility to happen, respect has to be present first.
Correct.
If there's no respect, then the strength of argument is null and void, right? And they come off superior, glib, snub, talking down to you, masterful monologues. And I really believe that the reason that they talk so much is because they don't even sound good to themselves at first. So they keep going and they keep litigating until they finally feel like it sounds good to them, then they're good. But you've gotten, and you're out of your body. You're like, I want to fucking kill this person, right?
Yeah.
I can't believe I have to deal with this person. How does that affect the kids? My daughter has certainly been, I'm a single mom, so she has certainly been around when I have done my best to mask some of what was happening. But kids are smart, and I'm curious what you do, and I can share some of what I did that I thought was effective.
Yeah. So I don't think I said this at the beginning. I have a personal experience in my own family dynamic with navigating a personality disordered parent. And what we found is specifically when the kids were a lot younger is they would come back to the house and they would just rattle off almost like a stream of consciousness, like words that children would never use, thoughts or words put together that children would never do. They weren't at that developmental stage. So you knew that they were being fed a narrative, but not just once, not just twice, over and over and over again, to the point where they felt compelled to give that stream of consciousness to you in the exact same way that they received it. And it took me a really long time to realize that what they were doing was actually trying to get us to validate what they had been told. They were almost like asking it as if it was a question.
Yep.
But that's not how it obviously came out. It came out as a statement and a stream of consciousness. And so it took us a while to get there. And so it affected the kids because the things that they were being told, and this often happens when you're dealing with a personality disordered parent who is practicing parental alienation tactics, and that's what this stream of consciousness is and was, is their reality is being completely distorted.
Yes.
So the kids go off feeling. So what they felt what they feel when they're at home with us is safe and cared for, and their needs are being met, and it's fun, and there's boundaries and there's rules, and it's safe. But that wasn't the messaging that they were being given. So when we were that they shouldn't feel that way when they're here, essentially. So their experience was being distorted by that other parent. And that was very confusing for them. So when we finally realized, oh, I think they're trying to bounce this off of us as if it's an idea, we then took that opportunity to say, oh, that's interesting. Is that how you feel? Was that your experience when we went to the park that day? Sometimes people remember things differently. How do you remember that? So getting them to start thinking for themselves and basically putting that stream of consciousness back at them to get them to question it and unpick it and vocalize that and verbalize that. And it was almost like, not a game that we would play, but it was definitely like a communication opportunity that really helped our kids debunk the false reality that they were being told to believe. And I think that really helped us in terms of ensuring that their memories stayed intact.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's almost like, is it a trick or a truth?
Right.
There's trick or treat. It's like, is that a trick or a truth? And I think we really owe it to our kids to help them see the tricks. But to do it in the way that you're suggesting is allowing them a question so they can come to themselves. Sometimes my daughter would see her dad just blowing me up. And she would say, why is he doing that, Mom? And she'd want to see and want to peek. And at some point at that, when she was more age appropriate, she's right there. I'm like, this is just real. I can't make this up. And she was coming home a lot saying, Dad does this or Dad does that. And I would say, you're right. That is how he is. And unfortunately, that is not going to change. We need to help you cope with that when he's there. And I would send her with tools of coping, right? So when the texts were barraging into me, I did my best to protect her from them. Sometimes they happen when she's sitting right next to me. And I would be sort of stunned by it. So maybe it didn't get up immediately. And I look at it now and it wasn't wrong, right? Because you as the parent who's really wanting health, you're trying so hard to protect them from everything. But what we cannot protect them from is the reality of their parent.
That's right.
And I feel like I didn't lie. I didn't show. She was watching in real time what he was doing.
Yeah.
Right. And that really worked against him. He was not mindful or thoughtful about when he was sending these texts. He knows her waking and sleeping hours. He doesn't care. They believe their bullshit so deeply that he probably thinks if she saw any of it, that she feels sorry for him. Right. So when you're correcting their reality, is it a trick or a truth? I feel like it's not a game, like you said. It's like you're giving them a corrective experience.
Yeah.
You're leading them back to truth. Their bodies know, or they wouldn't be asking.
That's right.
Right? What would you say the difference between co-parenting is and parallel parenting? So in case the listener doesn't know.
Yeah. So, I mean, co-parenting is essentially what it says on the tin. You are actively, proactively doing parenting intertwined with somebody else.
Together.
Right? Together, and communication is open.
Yes.
And when it's healthy, and I do believe that, even if you have negative feelings about each other, if your intention is in the right place and you have the desire to do it, you can still co-parent in a fairly healthy way. Parallel parenting is again, what it says on the tin, and the visual of literally two lines just who never intersecting, just moving, in their own direction. The two should never meet. And that just means running two separate households. Both of those households have different sets of rules, different bedtimes, different feeding schedules, maybe. Like you are running two very separate households because communication is an impossibility.
Love that. Because communication absolutely with these types of people is an impossibility, right? I kind of want to move over to the topic of, are either of your parents personality disordered?
No.
So mine are both.
So,
So I also had to protect her from that angle.
That's a lot.
I married my mother. So
we could do a whole podcast on that.
I had to replicate. So both my mother and father are very, very pathological people. And so I attracted elements of both of those parents into people that I've dated in my life.
It felt familiar to you.
It's familiar. And I look at it now. I've been with my boyfriend for 10 years and we've come a long way in 10 years. But there are still aspects of my childhood that I replicate. And I look at it as a real gift because wounding doesn't just go away. And I would replicate with anybody. It's just how much am I replicating? Is it how happy am I? Right. And that's how I measure. So it's a small part of our relationship that I'm replicating. But when it's there, it's a great opportunity for me to, again, go inward. I never feel like I'm going backwards, just going back inward. I'm obviously not done with that wound somehow. And I need to continue to work through that. So I think that there's a lot of grandparent alienation in that grandparents want to manipulate their grandchildren. They want grandparent custodial time, which puts the kids right back in the middle of a divorce situation. Yeah. It's just with grandparents instead of parents. And again, I think there's cases if your adult child is a meth addict and you've been raising their kid, this adult child gets it together so they get their kid back and you're concerned. Maybe those are situations where the grandparents and the adult children may not get along, but maybe there's a way that those grandparents who's been raising the kid doesn't lose the kid. But I feel like we even need to protect our children from whatever it is that we're replicating, right?
Yeah.
Because generational trauma just goes down. And whether it's coming through your ex or someone else, it's so important that the kids come first. And you talk so much about coping and centering on the child's well-being. And so what does that look like?
So there's a few things. So validating the feelings and teaching emotional literacy, I think, is absolutely crucial. So when I say emotional literacy, I mean, there's a saying that is very much, you are not responsible for other people's feelings. And that is so empowering for children. And they will carry that through, from 4 years old all the way up until they're 104 years old. And that doesn't mean that you can be an asshole and somebody's reaction to you being an asshole is on them. That's not what that means. That means that when you are not able to emote and communicate your feelings out of fear of that other person's reactions to your feelings, sadness, anger, frustration, that is toxic and that is abusive. And you are not responsible for that other person's feelings based on how you're feeling. The other thing is being consistent. So consistency, because there's so much inconsistency in that other household. So a rule one day will not be a rule the next day. Bedtime one day will be totally different the next day. And the kids they're literally, as the saying goes, literally walking on eggshells. They don't know which way is up on any given day because that personality disorder parent is switching the script all the time. And so that consistency in your household is so crucial. It is so crucial for them in their development. And that's why in our home, they call me Captain Consequences, which
that's so cute.
When my son or my stepson first said it, he actually made me a captain's hat and wrote Captain Consequences on it and said, "Here, mommy, this is for you." And my wife just died. We were laughing so hard. And I'm like, listen, I'll take it. To me, that's a compliment because they know what they're getting each and every time with me. You break a rule, there's a consequence. You push a boundary, I'm going to make sure there's scaffolding around it so you can't push past the barrier that far. And so I wear the Captain Consequences hat with pride.
You know, what I see in my office is when a child is really acting out and they want to run into the parent and bounce back, but it goes like this. They kind of swing back like,
Yeah.
oh, like I didn't, like, how far do I actually have to go? I think something I want to point out, because I grew up as that child, there were 9 marriages between my parents.
That's crazy.
Yeah, my dad was married 5 times and my mom 4. So there was zero consistency and there was zero structure, although she was structured for her, but just there was no regulation. So I had no idea. Living in my house was like walking down a hallway and there was going to be a door and there was going to be a test behind that door. And I was not allowed to know what that test was. I was not allowed to know when it was given. But if I didn't pass that, I'm in for it. And so I never knew how quick the doors were going to come, but I was never safe. I could never predict her moods, the environment. And my mom wasn't a yeller. She was a stomper. She was a sire. I got the narcissistic stare. I got the passive aggressive digs that you can't really call her on, but you know it was mean. And, you know, I was living in this world that no one could really see it. Oh, I was ready to sell you on the street corner for 25 cents or best offer. And this wasn't funny. But it would be not so aggressive and people would laugh, but they'd see the look on my face and they'd be like, oh, she didn't mean it like that. She was just joking.
Well, then how did she meet it?
You're ready to sell me. I'm 15. You're ready to sell me like for what? Prostitution or kidnapping or what? So those things growing up like that, it's so true that when there's no consistency, it's very hard to find yourself. Yeah. I did strange things to create my own consistency as a kid. Very strange things.
Like what?
I would make a fort that would enclose me in my room, and I would pretend that that was a bubble that no one could get in. So there were no doors, there were no tests, and I would try to write the biggest number in the world. So I'd write 100, comma 00, comma for hours. And I'd come out with pages. What I learned later as I was going through the psychology of violence is that, let's say that you hit a drunk driver and you go to you have too much to drink. You're a great person, but you hurt someone, and you go to prison. And you're a really good person. So that environment, it's not like you've been running the streets or you have, a lot of times people will get in there and just count. They'll count up to 500 and right back down and right back up and right back down. It's a way to give your brain something to focus on that is very task oriented, that has no threat and no depth, but it keeps you distracted. And I used to sit in that fort for hours and try to write the biggest number in the world.
Wow. And that actually breaks my heart. That makes me incredibly sad.
Mm-hmm. But thank God that I did that. Mm-hmm. And then I had superheroes. I had Annie. I had Pippi Longstocking. I had all these girls that were alone, right? But thriving and feeding themselves. And I was fed. There was food, home, and shelter. The emotional world I lived in was insane. And my father was insane and very aggressive. And so I just learned to just isolate, and I made forts wherever I went. I was a big fort girl. Yeah. And I did things to create that structure. And it's very well known, like for the borderline, when you read the psychoviolence, they do very well in prison and they do very well in the military. Why? Their structure. So when you leave your kids without structure or a frame, I always call it that she was born into a frame, my daughter, and that frame gets bigger each year she ages. She gets more room to wiggle, but it is still my job as her mother to keep her within the frame of reason and safety and whatnot. So I think Captain Consequence is a beautiful thing because You don't have a kid who has to go isolate and try to write the biggest number in the world.
No,
Just to feel some sense of peace or structure or distraction, right?
the number writing for you, you said you were physically building forts. That was your way of building a fort in your mind as well to
Yes,
protect the psyche.
100%.
Wow.
I put myself in a bubble, you know,
Do you know what?
in an imaginary bubble.
Kids, I think there's such a misconception that kids want to be free and they want to be feral. They really don't. They want
No, they
safety.
really don't.
They want
Yeah.
security. They want to know that they're getting the same thing every day. Um, and that is crucial to their, not just their physical survival, but their psychological survival as well. And so when they're put in an environment where that isn't taking place, and whether it's like literally the physicality of the home and maybe it's disheveled, maybe there's no food in the fridge, or whether it's because that parent is completely emotionally unregulated, and is just up and down and sideways and no rules or structure, it is so damaging. But that's why it's so important that they have that in the other home.
Yeah, they think they don't want that discipline even, but they do. They do. It's you don't want to try to reason with kids when they don't want the discipline. I mean, if they're not going to reason with you, you can just be like, this is what it is. And if you want to know more about why I'm making this decision, when you're not upset anymore, come talk to me. We will talk it out. Or you can revisit it once they've calmed down. A lot of parents, when the kid is emotionally activated, you don't want to jump in an emotion when it's at its peak.
Right.
You don't want to do that. You want to wait till the peak has passed. You do what you can to regulate the peak, and then you go in. You know, you should always, after you discipline, you should repair always, right? So I too think with character disordered exes that we're parenting with, repair really, if there is a problem between an adult child and their parent, it's always the parent's job to repair. And I know a lot of parents may not like that, especially if they have more of a narcissistic flair to them, or if they fully believe it's their child's fault. Maybe it totally is their child's fault, but you're still the parent. It is still your job to start that conversation. It is still your job to mend.
Yes.
Even if you think it is your kid's fault, right?
Yeah.
Because parenting would indicate structure. That's the role you chose. You are the person responsible when you have a child to create structure. Our exes cannot do that. They will not do that. They refuse to do that.
I think like, and maybe you can give me some clarity on this, because I feel like as we know, the children are the personality disorder parent and the narc had the child for a lifetime narc supply.
Oh, yes.
They don't have children out of love as you and I know it to be.
Mm-mm.
They have children to satiate that narcissistic supply that they require. Once the child makes the decision for themselves to no longer be that supply and to either cut them off or start questioning them or pushing back with them, that parent will, be very cruel in how they handle that child.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're no longer getting their needs met, and you're no longer serving the purpose that I brought you into this world to fulfill.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is, I feel like the aging, and I'll use narcissism because it's the easiest one, and but the aging narcissist they get worse with age.
Oh, yes.
So, for 100%. And let's say a narcissistic mother, whether it's a covert mother or malignant or whatever, the perimenopause and the menopause years as well.
Oh, yes.
It goes up exponentially, their behaviors and their cruelty. Now, moving that into your elderly years, elderly people already hunker down on the way they like things done.
Yeah, they do, because you're running out of serotonin. We're born with a very fixed amount. So elderly people, all elderly, they shrink their worlds. They drive like this. They only live in this little square. Yeah. I mean, if you add, the character disorder to that. So why is it progressive? It's progressive because They are practicing this skill set every day, all day on everyone they meet, service providers, lawyers, judges, handymen, wait staff at a restaurant. I mean, they are pulling people around to the way that they think, and they have these people doing what they want when they want. And not because these people want to do that, but because they're afraid. It triggers something in your body like, I'm not safe. So it is progressive because they are constantly honing this skill. Children are possessions. Like when I think of someone who cannot love, if that love is completely repressed, love that is repressed turns to possession.
Yes.
They own you. You are a thing and you owe them because they brought you here. That's what I used to hear, right? I brought you in. I could take you out. I used to hear that one. Oh, okay, cool. Like murder or like what? What are we talking about?
Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, like I'm 10. Oh, you're going to take me out. It doesn't sound very good. So then I'm in fear and then I overfunction and whatever. And I even think that it can come out in different ways. It can come out where inaction is the action of abuse, a lack of presence, a lack of attunement. Like you're in a room, you live in a box and there's all these bodies in there, but you feel closer to strangers than you do the people wandering around your house. They're there for the photo op, but they're not there for the fallout.
Yes.
That's another inaction can be an action of abuse, right? Being pathologically, chronically late to pick up your child.
So can you give me some clarity then on this? Because I find in our situation, the kids are experiencing a lot of push-pull from this parent. So let's use like a school assembly, for instance. Yeah. So we get an email if one of our children is getting an award at school, and both parents are supposed to be there, blah, 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 or all parents are supposed to be there. And she will say to the child, oh, mommy's going to be there, and get that child all excited and then not turn up. And then it will be your pickup day to pick the child up, and you have to deal with the emotional fallout of that. And then that child is now feeling a draw towards that other parent and wanting that connection with the other parent because they feel like they've done something wrong and they want to mend it with that personality disordered parent whilst they're with you. So they feel anxious and their emotions are all over the place. This is by design.
It's by design.
Yeah.
My dad told me he might come to my high school graduation to look for him.
Oh, geez.
He didn't come. So why?
So you're why there looking
the whole distracted.
Time? Oh, that's heartbreaking.
The whole time. And then it was like something came. He just can't. So you're drawn. You want to be fixed by the person who hurt you.
Yes.
Now, in healthy dynamics, this makes sense. When we love someone and we hurt them, we want to be the person to fix the hurt. Okay? That's a very normal want because in healthy dynamics, that is how it is. Even if you hurt your child's feelings and you're not aware, and they come to you and they say, Mommy, that really hurt my feelings on da-da-da. As a parent, I would be like, oh my God. Wow, I am so sorry. This is what I meant. Clearly, it's not how it landed. What do I need to do to fix this? How can I fix this? You're so important to me.
Accountability.
You do. You want to be fixed by the person that hurt you. When that doesn't happen, what I realize for me and in the various stories I have throughout my life of all of this stuff is the weight of all the effort of the relationship. If there was going to be one, I had to fill the gap. So I had to forgive the unforgivable. I had to make the effort. When he said, sorry, something came up, I'm like, yeah, no worries. No worries.
Yeah, because they want the reaction from you.
Like, I'll get the next one. I'll go to college. I'm like, okay. So then they bait you with that future. It's a way to make their absence more important than their presence so that it ruins the experience in the moment, but it pulls away from the parent who's there. It's a way to rob your experience of enjoying a special moment.
Yes.
Because the only thing that gets focused on is what was missing. I shared with
absence.
Yes, they make their absence more present than your presence.
Yes.
Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yes. That's
So
exactly.
just like I shared with you before the show, that my daughter just turned 21 and she gets 2 texts a year from her dad, birthday and Christmas, and he did not text her. And usually she tells me if he texts and she didn't say anything. So I'm like, oh, is this one of those situations where I let it go or do I ask? And this is what this whole show's about.
Mhm.
I would always rather risk than maybe come across like I'm avoiding the question. So I just said, so who's reached out today? She already knew. She's like, he didn't reach out, Mom. And I was like, oh, okay, wow. And she turns it into humor. Okay. So I'm thinking, well, it's only 6 o'clock in the PM, but give the guy time. So the next day I came home and I just said, anything? And I was sitting on the floor in my kitchen and we had the puppy. We have a new puppy and the puppy was in with us and she sat next to me and we talked for an hour.
Oh,
And
that's
it was
nice.
interesting because we were next to each other. It was very non-invasive. I think it's best to talk next to someone. Then this can trigger fight mode or arguing or whatever. And
Yes.
she really opened up about it. And we went through all the different scenarios. She didn't let it ruin her night. She had her first drink, like I think she drank half a drink. She's like, tastes like Mucinex. She's never going to be a big drinker, this child, because she's so taste sensitive. But
That's great.
I'm very pleased, but she was very cute. It was such a sweet, sweet birthday. And I knew it was lingering. So they make their absence more present than your presence. And I think as they get older, it's a little more manageable. Like I said, she hasn't seen him since she was 14. Her choice. She did everything she could to repair with him, wrote a whole letter to his therapist, all the things. And he blew it off. He doesn't really want repair. He just wants to move on like none of it happened. Right.
Fine.
So I know that's in her. I know there's nothing I can do to get it out of her because I can't change the situation. I can only let her know how lovable she is, that the problem is not her, she knows it here, but I think it's hard to trickle down. I mean, it took me decades, right? So when they do that, it is this.
Yeah.
But what happens is no one can navigate a stop sign and a go sign at the same time. And I do feel that they just have a way of making their absence supersede your presence.
Yeah.
Because hurt, even if we look at the way the brain takes in positive and negative thoughts, when anyone looks back on childhood, what do you think they remember the most? Is it the positive or the pain?
Well, if you had a lot of pain, it would be pain. Yeah.
Yeah, because negative thoughts are bigger and they're harder to break down. So they're processed in a fundamentally different part of the brain than positive thoughts. So it's like, it's not that our parents didn't do anything positive. It's that what was painful is probably still trying to be broken down by the brain.
Yes.
Right. So that's the power. And narcissists or toxic people, character disorder people, they all know this, that absence is an action of abuse and almost the most powerful because it makes you feel like you don't exist. So to feel your existence, you close the gap, you overfunction. You want to know why this parent didn't, this kid takes on all the responsibility.
I think that for a child, so we had a situation, and well, I mentioned one of them. We've had many of those situations, but I think as the children are older now, what they are struggling to reconcile is why. So in an attempt to try and hurt us as the other parallel parents in the dynamic, the children's are actually the ones that suffer because I'm good, but it's the kids that you've hurt. You didn't show up to watch him get his award, and that hurt him. That didn't hurt me. And I think what the children are struggling with is reconciling why she would want to hurt them. And so it's hard to find the language and the words to explain to a child that they don't love you in the way that you and I know love to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because
they own you.
because that's too painful for a child to take on, and even for an adult to take on, to come to the realization that your birth mother, your birth father, or the person that was supposed to love and protect you your whole life never did love you. It was all, you were there to serve their ego and to serve them in some sick, twisted way. It's too much, I think, for the human psyche to handle.
I've never been able to digest it, and I've been no contact for 10 years. So what I'm grateful for is I'm not sick enough to understand it.
Yes.
I'm super grateful
that I'm religious, but amen.
Yes, same. I'm just not sick enough to understand it. I think to fully understand them, you have to be like them.
Yeah.
So I can have an intellectual grasp, but the fact that, for example, my mom would rather die and go to her grave than apologize to me and see my daughter and me ever again is so sobering that there's truly something incredibly wrong with that woman. And there's no way that my brain is ever going to understand what would cause something like that. So those types of things, you're a thing, you're a possession. They have a written script for you before you've ever spoken a word, but they change the script at will because they like this game. If things get boring for these people, meaning healthy, they can't function. I don't know if they can't feel themselves, if they're not just creating a shit ton of drama everywhere they go. But it's almost like, why does no contact work? It's because they're not getting
you're starving them. You're starving them
of what they want. Mm-hmm. And this is why I tried everything. I mean, I was in this thing for 4.5 decades. I made it all up. I'm like, I'll write a book about this. I'll do low contact. I'll do cordial contact. Oh, that's a new one. I'll try cordial contact. I just started trying it all because I didn't think you could go no contact and be accepted in this world, right? Mm. And so I'm the first expert to put it into the literature. It's not that I'm the first one to ever write about it, but in terms of putting it into the literature, in terms of clinical literature, I'm the first expert to write about it in But It's Your Family. My first book I wrote 7 years ago. So I didn't know that it was going to create such a movement. I had no idea. So,
but it's so important.
But it is the only thing that shut the poison off. Mm-hmm. I do not hate these people at all. I love them, but I don't like them. And I have learned in my life that liking someone is so much more powerful than loving somebody, because love is like the liver. It will just regenerate. I don't have any hatred toward my family. No contact isn't even about them. It's for me.
Yeah.
And if you can't support me protecting myself, then you're not for me and you have no business being in my life if you're going to judge, right? But to really like someone means you would have to respect them and trust them. And I have come to find that I cannot like someone I cannot trust or respect. And when I think about why I don't trust or respect someone when I have such a long leash, you have really fucked up if you get way over here. So that's what I think is, they are progressive, like we talked about earlier. And they don't get better, they get worse. They cannot live if they don't have the attention. How hard is it to manipulate a child?
Well, exactly. And you can literally alter their memories, their experiences. I mean, I've had cases where we'd taken the kids on holiday, and then what she's done is she started to go on to the exact same locations, to the exact same hotel, do the exact same activities with them, so that when their memories are being formulated, that they've now switched the experience they had with us with her. And she's done the same thing with birthday parties and things like that. It's interesting when I have clients and they're relaying the exact same experience that I've had and I am having. It just really shows you that these people are textbook. You literally there's a formula to their dysfunction, which is,
I always say, it's almost like, is there a school? Like, are they write all the same cards?
No.
Yeah, I'll never stop trying. I want to circle back to the why do they like the assembly that you shared, right?
Mm.
They really only care about optics.
Of course. Of
Okay,
course.
so the fact that this parent said, yes, we will come, that's to them as good as if they came.
Yeah.
Like, I'll call you tonight. It's
Do you
as
know
good as
what?
if they called.
Do you know what though, Sherry? It's worse than that because what she has done and what other people that I know who have this disorder do is actually say, "No, I was there. Did you not see me?"
Oh, they even gaslight and pretend. So they just make the kid feel incredibly crazy.
And then he feels like he's
And it's like, so
crazy.
if you were there, why didn't you say hi to me? And
Right.
you know what they'll say? Well, you were with your mom. I
Yeah.
didn't want to.
You looked a
So
bit busy. Yeah.
yeah. So that's insane. Like that takes it to a whole level of insanity. And this is the
Definitely.
stuff that we can't control. But what we can control is what's in our four walls,
Yes.
having those corrective experiences where you're writing reality,
Mm-hmm.
creating structure, creating the consequences that they need, Captain Consequence.
Okay.
And it is such a form of love because that says that you care enough about me to discipline me. You care enough about me to care about how I show up in the world. That
Yes.
is true love, right? And I think for the listener, this stuff is really hard. One question I get, and we'll end on this, but one question I get is, how do I not parent my children the way I was parented? And I
Mm.
would say that I think so many people are trying to avoid being their own parents that focus is so intense. And my answer to that is just focus on loving your children.
Yeah.
Don't focus on not being something or being something. If you focus on the love for your child, that love will be guardrails because it will not let you do to your child what was done to you, and nor will it make you so passive that you won't discipline.
Yes.
I just think that if you can look at it that way, what would your advice be?
So I think if the feeling that you're having in the moment in that interaction with your child is familiar and you come from a toxic family background, so family and toxicity go hand in hand, you need to pivot. You need to pivot
Brilliant.
because you're going to go down the same path that your parents did with you. So if
Yes.
you're having an argument with your child or you're feeling triggered or you're starting to feel emotionally unregulated, like you're not going to be able to handle yourself, you need to pivot on your tactic because that is your body's way of saying, oh, this is familiar. Okay, that's not a good thing.
And repair.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to say when we were having this conversation earlier is that when it comes to your kids, you need to remember the other parent is never going to give the child a justification for the reasoning of why they're doing something.
Right.
So when you
Yes.
say no to your child, it's so important in your house of consistency that you say, you know what, you're not going to be able to go to that sleepover tomorrow. And let me tell you why.
Yes.
And then you explain it to them and just say, does that make sense to you? Do you have any questions about that? I understand you're disappointed, but this is why. Maybe we can discuss having a play date with them next weekend. And you walk them through it. You don't just say no and then walk away because that's what's happening in the other home. They never feel the need to justify themselves.
Yep. I agree. And I think too that, I've seen parents walk away at parks and be like, bye, as if this is going to get their kid. I cringe every time. I wouldn't want to be yanked away in the middle of something I was doing.
Right.
Just be courteous. Like think about like the TV's on. Don't just click it off. Give them a warning. You've got 5 minutes.
Yes.
You've got 3. I did the 5-3-1 forever. And it worked really well. It gives their brain times because as an adult, no one's just going to come in and shut their TV off. It's so disrespectful.
Right.
If you want your children, I'm going to end on this and then I want you to end on something. Respect isn't inborn, it's learned. How do children learn respect? By how you respect them. If you hold the utmost respect for your children, they will always respect you.
Yes. Absolutely.
What would you leave the listener with today before we close down?
Oh, give yourself grace as the healthy parent because you're not going to get it right all the time. There's going to be moments where you are disappointed in yourself on how you reacted. and you're going to feel like you've let your child down and yourself down. You're going to feel shame. You're going to feel all the ugly feelings. And that's also by design by that other parent.
Yeah.
They're setting up situations where that will happen. So when it does, give yourself grace. Take a beat, take a minute, take a breath, and come back to it maybe tomorrow, and then address it with the child and say, you know what? The way that I reacted yesterday, I really let myself down, and I want to tell you why.
Beautiful. God. Yes, there's no conversation you can't pick up again.
Absolutely.
That's the most beautiful thing about repair. On the other side, it's like dress rehearsals of repair, but it's all a joke. You really want to give your kids real repair. And what you just said was so profound. And yes, give yourself grace. Jenny, thank you so much for your time. It's that one commodity you can never get back, that you were able to choose to spend that with us today. We so love and appreciate you for doing that. Such an incredible show, such an incredible guest, an incredible woman. Mwah. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Until next week, be well and take care of you. Well, Bravehearts, that concludes our amazing therapy session for the day. Please sign up on my email list at drsherrycampbell.com so that you can be in touch with me and see what's going on in terms of what I'm offering soon, what books are coming out, etc. Talk to you in a couple of weeks.